Greetings, people of the interwebs, Jake here. So last week I uploaded the first video in the World Lore series that I plan on doing here on the channel, where basically it just details various lore about the fantasy world that I've created, from the different races, cultures, to the religions, kingdoms, empires, you name it. So, basically last week I uploaded the first video, which is all about the Dwarves, because the Dwarves are one of my favorite fantasy races and are very near to and dear to my heart, as I stated in the video. And so, after uploading the video on the Dwarves, I said that I'd follow up with the religion and the pantheon of gods that the Dwarves adhere to in this video. So, without further ado, let's jump into the different gods that make up the Dwarvish religion. There are many deities within the Dwarvish pantheon, but none are more important or powerful than Ilmarinen, who is the chief deity and god of all gods. Ilmarinen is said to be the Forge Master, and the one who created the dwarves in Hammerhall from the great volcanic mountain known as the Great Forge, which sits in the center of Hammerhall. It is said that after the war between gods and demons, the demons banished from the mortal plane, that Ilmarinen decided to create life and lands for his creations, which became the dwarves. Once the Great Forge was erected, from the seas and surrounding lands of Hammerhall began to form, the dwarves claimed they were forged from the fires of the Great Forge by Ilmarinen and were given the land to do with as they wished, so long as they respected the land and resources bestowed upon them by Ilmarinen. After the creation of the dwarves, Hammerhall, and all life on the country, Ilmarinen is said to have went back into the heavens to rebuild the skies and forge a barrier protecting the mortal plane from the demons, preventing them from entering the mortal plane again. Before leaving, Ilmarinen left his son Korhu to lead his new creation, the dwarves, and show them the ways of metalworking so they too could forge their own creations, along with showing them how to mine for precious minerals and metals. Korhu ruled and watched over the dwarves of Hammerhall for 500 years until Perkeleinen, a fallen god, descended from the skies to challenge Korhu and his rule over the dwarves in the mortal plane. Perkeleinen was said to have been a great beast of fire and smoke who wielded a scourging axe in one hand and blazing sword in the other, and was cast out of the heavens by Ilmarinen for slaying Orcus, the goddess of plant life, trees, and not taking Perkelerinen's hands in marriage. Being cast out of the heavens, Perkeleinen wasn't able to get his revenge on Ilmarinen personally, so he decided to kill Korhu to get back to Ilmarinen and to rule over and oppress the dwarves that they had created. In the epic story known as the Kalevala, which tells the story of Dwarvish mythology, it read that the battle between Korhu and Perkeleinen lasted for weeks, until fighting across Hammerhall, until finally, Korhu summoned the last of his strength into a mighty blow with his hammer, Farasar, charged with lightning, and struck Perkeleinen so hard that it sent the great fire deity flying across all of Hammerhall and past the seas to lands unknown far away. After using the last of his strength to defeat Perkeleinen, Korhu, in a weakened and near-death state, walked into the depths of the Great Forge, so that way he could be reborn and forged into a new form, a more powerful form, so he could get better combat Perkeleinen the day the fire deity came back from lands far away to seek his revenge. The dwarves believe that anytime the Great Forge erupts or rumbles, it's because of Korhu's immense power seeping out from the depths of the volcanic mountain. Some of the other deities within the Dwarvish pantheon are Ulko, the god of war, and said to be the strongest amongst the gods and goddesses, second only to Ilmarinen. Ulko wields a spear named Kelas, made from the great world tree, and a shield made from the bones of a dragon by the name of Lorakar, who is said to be the size of a mountain. After Ulko taught the dwarves the art of warfare, it is said he departed from Hammerhall to vanquish a great dragon named Masuoya, the world eater. Atar, god of the sea and giver of fish, is the patron of dwarvish fishermen and sailors, and is usually depicted with fins on the back of his arms and legs and fish-like scales covering the back of his body. Atar being the god of sea, he is said to have power to control the wind and storms, as well as wields a golden trident called Kolmakari that he uses to control the currents of the wind's ocean. In the Kalevala, it tells the tale of when a kraken named Mustakalari tried to wrap its tentacles around Hammerhall to sink it into the depths and devour the island country. It was Atar who fought the gargantuan beast and slew it before it could finish sinking the country into the sea. After Mustakalari was slain, its tentacles still lay across Hammerhall, so Atar transformed the tentacles into the rivers that flow through the country, so that the dwarves could now use the dead kraken's tentacles it once tried to sink Hammerhall into useful waterways to make navigating the country easier and faster for the dwarves. Palervo is the god of harvest and bringer of grain, wheat, barley, and master brewer. Unlike most of the other deities within the Dwarvish pantheon, Palervo is not a warrior who's accomplished great deeds of valor, but is a more whimsical and fun-loving god who enjoys feasting and drinking in the halls of Talus, which is where the gods and goddesses live in the heavens. Palervo is popular amongst the common people and is the chief patron of farmers, merchants, and brewers, and has festivals held in his honor during the transition from summer to fall, when the last of the grain is harvested in preparation for winter. The festival is a week-long event where the dwarves feast and drink to celebrate a successful harvest and play music throughout the halls of the mountain strongholds, taverns, towns, and villages, and port cities of the Hammerhall. Ilmatar, the goddess of air and fertility, and the daughter of Ilmarinen. Ilmatar has always been depicted as a beautiful, kind, and benevolent goddess who watches over dwarvish women and protects them during childbirth. She has also been known to help guide wayward travelers on the path to their messed that up. Watches over, lost my spot in my little script here. She has also been known to help guide wayward travelers on the path to their destination. There we go. Most dwarves refer to Ilmatar as the mother to all dwarves, who watches over them from their birth until their death. It is widely believed that once a dwarf dies, Ilmatar is the one who guides their spirits to the halls of Talvis if they lived a good life. Luanata is the goddess of rivers, lakes, and wildlife, and later goddess of nature, trees, plant life, after the slaying of Arkas. Lake Ulmo, the largest lake in Hammerhall, is said to be the home of Luanata, and where she provides the people with pure water that some dwarves claim to be blessed by the grace of Luanata herself, and can bring plant life to even the most barren of locations. Due to the water's purity within Lake Ulmo and where Luanata resides, it is one of the most sacred sites of Hammerhall alongside the Great Forge. Nirikiela is the goddess of the hunt, and she is said to be as a fierce warrior as Korhu or Ulko, and uses her sacred bow named Nuoli to hunt down demons and other manner of foul creatures. Whenever dwarves go hunting, they always pray to Nirikiela and leave her the heart of whatever animal they kill as an offering to bring good fortune with their future hunts and protect them from large predators that roam Hammerhall, such as wolves, bear, bonehawks, or mountain lions. In the Kalever, Nirikiela is depicted wearing the fur of a wolf and rides on the back of her owl companion, Pul, when she goes into battle or a hunt. The wolf fur she wears is said to be the wolf of the Wolf King, Koryaha, who plagued the pine forest near Lake Ulmo and stood as nearly as the pine trees themselves. So, outside of the occasional slip up there, that is the Dwarvish pantheon that I created, and it was probably one of the more fun ones to create for me out of the other different religions that I created. And this one I kind of took a lot of inspiration from the Finnish mythology, which is, I guess, a little bit of information to kind of, I guess, give you a little bit of insight. So the Finns share a lot of commonalities in terms of like their mythology with the Baltic people, and even to an extent the various Germanic people, in particular the Scandinavians, like Norse mythology, just because of their close proximity to the Baltic and various Germanic tribes. So there is some parallels between the different religions, but there's enough distinction between the two, or the three, I guess, different cultures. And so that's kind of why I wanted to lean more towards the Finnish pantheon over, say, Norse mythology, even though dwarves are of Norse mythology, but already have people that kind of represent the various Germanic people. And so I thought it would be a cool idea to have the dwarves be more inspired and, I guess, sort of representative of the Finnish people, because there is a very rich culture with the Finns. So, yeah, a little bit of insight on why, or I guess kind of how I shaped the Dwarvish pantheon. And pretty much with all the major religions, they all have about like 9 deities, just because for simplicity's sake. There are a few exceptions, but and a lot of them do share a lot of kind of common roles, just because if you look into the various mythologies, in particular of the Indo-European people, a lot of them are kind of copy and paste. There's just slightly different titles, or maybe this one's the god of war in Greek mythology, but maybe the equivalent in Persian mythology is the god of war and wine, little things like that. So that was actually a lot of fun when I was kind of creating the mythology, is just kind of doing a little bit of research on kind of when I decided to base them off the Finns, just go through the Finnish mythology and trying to, come up with the names and what their roles were. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and probably one of the ones that I guess probably the one that I enjoyed the most creating for the different races and stuff like that in my fantasy world. But yeah, so that is the Dwarvish Pantheon, and hopefully you all have enjoyed this video. Sorry again, I kind of messed up there, but so that way I don't get too rambly, I try to create like a little script or prompt so that way I can kind of stay focused. The downside to that, though, is when I lose my place, I kind of mess up, because I definitely can't memorize all this stuff. But again, all that aside, hopefully you did enjoy this video, and I think next I may do the gnomes, just because in my world the gnomes and dwarves kind of share a common ancestry, and so their culture and religions are very similar. So I may go ahead and do that first, or I guess after this. But at the same time, I may do like the elves or one of the other cultures, just so that way, I don't do the dwarves and then the gnomes, which are fairly similar, and I guess it doesn't feel too redundant, I guess. So, or, leave your comments below on what you would like to see the next video be on the different, whatever, the halflings, the gnomes, elves, some of the different humans, and then I'll follow it up with the respective religion to those people. So, yeah. Until next time, everybody, cheers.